ecstatic about this.
No, I'm not fucking around anymore. I'm not fucking around anymore. Just so you know, I'm not fucking around anymore. You recording?
Yes.
I'm Whiskey One, coming to you semi-live, edited in post, uploaded to YouTube, kind of live, not really, but we're going to roll with it and say that we are live. All right, folks, going to change up the format slightly. I do want to give a quick shout out to Joseph San Nicolas, who donated these bottles just so I could do a review, a side-by-side of their small batches. We got the high proof over here, and we got the regular proof, I guess you could say. It's 96 proof to be exact, and this one is coming in at 118. Now, I've had a chance to review a different Meleck that Joseph let us try months ago. I thought it was pretty interesting, and it was very tropical, came off like a rum, in my opinion. But before we dive into this review, I would love to say a quick shout out to all my patrons and, of course, all my fans who continue to show up. If you guys are new to the channel, thanks for stopping by and checking me out. Hopefully you enjoy the content and you stick around and subscribe. But let's get into this. I already poured the high batch or the high proof just so I could let that sucker settle down. I got my Glen hats here, so if you're interested in a Glen hat, these are awesome in the summer. Lately I've been going to barbecues and different social events, and you know, it's hot outside, keeps the bugs out, and you know, it also keeps people from maybe messing with your stuff. Like maybe they want to try a little sip. So maybe the Glen hat discourages them from getting into your hard-earned whiskey. But anyway, if you're interested, hit me up, send me a DM, message me, email me. I don't care. Put a comment in this video. Let me know that you'd like one, and we will talk. But JT Meleck, these guys are located in Branch, Louisiana. And before we get into tasting this, I'm just going to do a little backstory on what's up with these guys. So a gentleman by the name of John Meleck, back in 1896, migrated him and his family from Germany to southern Louisiana and decided to grow some rice in what was like 20 acres of farmland. And ever since then, his family has basically continued to grow rice. Now they raise crawfish. And the story goes that they had basically a situation where the rice was not giving them the profits that they needed. It's really part of their heritage, but they needed to figure out like what to do with all this extra rice. The price has gone down. And so, yeah, they decided, why not try to distill this stuff? And Mike Frug, the owner, decided to sign up for like a craft distillers event. Didn't know anything about it, and according to him, he was very green and asking a lot of questions about rice whiskey, to which he heard nobody knew anything about it. And I thought that was a little odd because, you know, for some reason, I always assumed at least the Japanese, even though they mostly use barley, they would have at least tried to distill rice. It just seems so, I don't want to say stereotypical, but it seems so obvious that they would have at least tried it. Maybe, you know, the other folks in the Asian continents, they would have tried that. So anyway, here I am talking about this now. And the good thing is I get to try a low proof version compared to the high proof version here today to see which one I feel speaks to me, might speak to you. And we're going to go ahead and get into this, shall we? So this is a fresh cork pop of their flagship small batch. It is 96 proof, like I said. And both of these bottles are aged. Well, not the bottles, but the whiskey itself has been aged for 4 years. So both the high proof and the lower proof. I've never tried either of these, but I did try a single barrel thanks to Joseph. So again, a big shout out to you for letting me do that. And I thought it was really like vanilla forward, very sweet and decadent. But man, that also had a little bit of heat to it. So I'm wondering if this high proof is also going to deliver the same kind of heat. Also, one thing I'm going to mention is I was reading a little bit about the Meleck distiller story, and what they happen to mention is that they make their whiskey for the connoisseur, the whiskey connoisseur. And I try not to label myself a whiskey connoisseur, but certainly I've had enough whiskey that maybe you might say I'm a bit bougie at times. So I don't know, maybe that makes me a connoisseur. But let's go ahead and nose these both. So check this one out. This would be the small batch, lower proof, the 96 proof. Okay, yeah, sweet, decadent, vanilla forward. A lot of brown sugar. Reminds me a lot to the single barrel that I had. A bit tropical. There's like a subtle vanilla wafer banana note. Banana pudding. But yeah, not very like oaky or nothing like that. Nice nose, very approachable. You may mistake this for a bourbon. I'll be honest with you. The last time I had the single barrel, it did remind me of something between a rum or a bourbon. So even though it's not clearly bourbon, it definitely drank like a bourbon. With exception to, it didn't have like a lot of like that rye, you know, like when you think of the rye spice, the baking spices, you know, the anise and all that that you would typically get from a bourbon, it was more peppery. Now this is the high proof. Same age statement, 4 years. Think of this as the bigger brother to this other guy. Very, very similar. So I'm gonna go back and forth on this one. I gotta say the lower proof nose sort of stands out. At least it was a lot more layered than the high proof. But I'm pretty sure the high proof is going to deliver a lot of bold flavor. They typically do when they're not watered down. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this. I mean, these are very, very similar. Again, this is the same stuff, just, you know, higher proof versus the lower proof. So I'm going to dive into the lower proof stuff first. So cheers to all you guys watching. I like that lower proof stuff. And I consider myself a proof hound, so I do like the higher proof stuff. But occasionally you get something that's in that 95, 96 ballpark. It will deliver the goods. It should give you all the flavor that you're looking for in a whiskey. That being said, I am the type of guy that if I come across a bottle that's like 80 proof, something really low in the 40s on the alcohol percentage there, I don't know that they really do it for me. Like I feel like once we start to get closer to that 45% ballpark of that 90 proof, that's where I start to really enjoy the whiskey. It doesn't always have to be high proof as long as that flavor's there. Now, for this small batch, oh boy, I get a lot of vanilla. I get a lot of that brown sugar that I got on the nose. It's sweet. I wouldn't say it's overly complex. I almost feel like this is keeping it simple, keeping it real, and keeping it flavorful all at the same time without having to like overdo it. But I'm gonna go back to it before I get into this high batch. So cheers again. Cookie dough, almost like a chocolate chip cookie, really. There's a bit of cocoa that sort of comes out on that return set. I like it. I do like it. And it's, like I said, it's not, I may have said that this was decadent, only because it drinks a bit sweet, but it's not overdone. It's not, you know, I wouldn't go liqueur sweet or anything like that. I think this right here has got my attention so far, and it's not even the high proof stuff. So I'm gonna cleanse the palate, drink a little water, and then we'll dive right into that high proof. Okay, so before I do that, just curious, which one of you guys watching has already tried the JT Meleck if you try their single barrel stuff, maybe if you're in Louisiana, just because we don't really find these here, I usually have to order stuff online just to get into New Mexico. Or I have good friends that let me borrow their stuff. But if you guys have tried this, like, I want to know what you have to say about it. If you're big fans of it, or if you're just really curious to see what I have to say about it, and you're watching this video just to hear my opinion. But I would love to get your thoughts on it too. So now we get into the high proof stuff. Cheers. Oh, okay. That changed everything for me. So I already told you that I'm a bit of a proof hound. Now, I don't think everybody needs to drink the high proof stuff to really enjoy whiskey. I may have mentioned that already, but if I've been given the choice between getting this or this, I feel like I'm already swayed in a certain direction. You may have figured that out by now, but this was the high proof stuff just delivers this, right? By turning the volume up ever so slightly. That vanilla is now more huggy, a lot more cookie, a lot more chocolate chip cookie. Yeah, yeah. And the brown sugar sweetness is just there, and it's noticeable. I think it's definitely one of the dessert sipping type of whiskeys that you'd want to get after dinner. Heck, even maybe just a starter, right? Like if you're just looking to mellow out and get something to wet the whistle, either one of these is going to do it. But I can't not stop thinking about the fact that, you know, the Meleck folks are saying that they're making this for the whiskey connoisseur. Now, I will say that most whiskey that I drink is, it's rye. I drink Scotch, sure. But lately, because there's so much abundance of bourbon out there, I find myself time and time again coming across bourbons. Now, does this feel like something similar? Kinda. This is a lot of like creme brulee in a glass. And it does sort of feel like a bourbon without all that bourbon spice and bourbon oak that you typically get. You know, it doesn't really have a lot of tannins. I kind of like that. I think it's a change of pace. For me, you know, coming across a rice whiskey, which is not something that you really find on the shelves like ever, I think if you truly are a connoisseur, you're going to get a bottle of Meleck. 100%. Now, the big question becomes, well, do I want the low proof stuff? Do I want the high proof stuff? If you're a proof hound like me, the choice is pretty obvious. You get the higher proof stuff. MSRP on these is $45 for the 96 proof and $60 for the 118 proof. I don't know if they will always be bottled at 118. This does, I think it did say batch strength, or I'm sorry, it just says high proof, sorry. So there may be some single barrel stuff that is really, really high proof, maybe beyond the 120 mark. Matter of fact, I think the bottle that I reviewed was pretty close to 120, if not above that. And that one was hot. I felt like it had a little heat to it, honestly. Have you guys tried the single barrel stuff? If you're in Louisiana, I'm pretty sure you probably come across a few single barrels. Now, I love single barrels. I like getting to taste the very different identities of whiskey. You can have the same stuff, different barrel. It's almost like you're talking to different brothers and sisters and cousins of the same family, you know, and every one of them has a different story to tell, even though you could tell they're part of that same family, that same fabric. But now, as far as the lower proof stuff, I'm not knocking this at all. Understand that I'm the proof hound, so I think if you were just getting into whiskey, the high proof stuff is probably not where you want to start. Get the 96 proof. Hell, for $45 you can't beat it. Even for $60 at the higher proof stuff, I mean, you're not gonna miss it, right? These days, now a good bottle of whiskey is now starting to come on that $100 mark. So you're gonna drop a Benjamin no matter what. And thank goodness, like, you don't have to do that when you get one of these. So yeah, I highly recommend grabbing a bottle. It's just more of a preference thing. What do you think you can handle? But yeah, this is definitely like two different glasses of creme brulee. If I had to sum it up in like one note, that's what I would refer to it as. I don't think that this drinks like a rum like I thought the single barrel did. Um, Initially, I was getting that like banana pudding note on the small batch, but not so much. I think the return sips just really started to open up the vanillas and the creaminess and the chocolatiness of it. Now, I'm just going to end with this. These are not highly complex bottles. I just think they taste good just by themselves. It's sort of like having a steak, right? A T-bone steak with just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, and it does you good, right? It just tastes fantastic by keeping things simple. And that's, I think, exactly what these guys have done. Now, I'm going to enjoy this high proof stuff. And hey, Joseph, thanks again for letting me review this side by side. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment below. Hit that like button. Subscribe. If you feel like supporting the channel as well through Patreon, please do so. Hit me up. I would love to see you guys join the Patreon family. Here at Whiskey One, it's about the one you enjoy. Cheers.